when I watched the first episode of the show, I thought, oh, this is a workplace comedy. The cult is the corporation. And then as you watch a few more episodes and Petey settles in, things open up a bit. And there's not a ton of information out there yet about the show. So what would you say the show's really about? Who is Petey and what are we, like, what's going on here? Just for people who don't know yet.
Yeah, well, when we meet Petey, she's a real New Yorker, a real city girl who thinks she has it all figured out. But unfortunately, she loses her job, her apartment burns down, she breaks up with her boyfriend, and her dead dad, bestows a cult upon her. And so she has to move from New York to the South and try to figure out how to be the leader of a cult with no previous experience. And it's basically just the trials and tribulations, trying and failing basically over and over again, surrounded by a very colorful, quirky cast of characters.
You're surrounded by a great supporting cast. John Cho plays the love interest. Amy Hill has I don't want to spoil what her role is, and all sorts of amazing guest stars and people in small parts. I know that most voice acting is done solo. Can you talk about how you've been able to collaborate with some of these fantastic actors, if at all?
Yes. Well, I mean, we did record most of it kind of in peak COVID times. But it's so fortunate that we were able to do a table read for every episode. So we'd get on Zoom, and I still have not met anybody in person, which is such a weird thing. But at least we had the opportunity to get to know each other a little bit and kind of hear it out loud and see what the dynamics were. And the level of talent and experience that so many of the cast had, I really felt like the new kid showing up to school, like not knowing what to do. But I was in very good company, and they were all incredibly sweet and welcoming and hilarious.
If you've seen Freeform's other show, Single Drunk Female, this show reminds me a little bit of Single Drunk Female in the sense that it's a young woman in her 20s who fails and has to rebuild her life, but has this sort of, she's a stereotype of a type of young woman who's wholly self-absorbed. Everything that Petey does is she's got her own itch she needs to scratch. And I feel like that's a character that's having a moment. Is that just because I'm old and that's like how people are now? Like is that like a stereotype that TV is getting at? Do you know what I mean about this type of young woman that Petey is and that we see in media now?
Yeah. I think you're totally right. I think that is like an archetype that we're seeing more and more. But what I think is very cool about Petey is Anna's kind of making a commentary on it. Like she picked Petey to be Petey for a reason. And it's something that she can kind of make fun of as the show goes on. Yeah, but gosh, is it fun to play a deeply self-absorbed person. It's a blast.
One relationship that's slightly underdeveloped, I think, in the first 5 that I've seen, is Petey's relationship with her father, who, of course, is dead, but he's not really a good guy. He created this thing really not for altruistic reasons. And Petey's kind of aware of it, but I don't feel like she's come to grips with it. Now, this is not Succession. This is not King Lear, but are we going to see more of Petey and her father and like what it means to have gotten this thing from him?
Yes, we are. And of course, we only get to see him in a series of pre-taped videos that he made to kind of lead her on her cult leader journey. But we do see more of their relationship. And also, I think Petey struggles. I think there's a lot more of her father in her than she thinks. And I think that probably is what adds to the push and pull of, do I want to abolish this cult or do I want to lead it into the future?
And quickly, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the difference between doing voice acting and doing acting before the camera. You talked about being able to be more over the top. And it struck me like, is that where your sweet spot is? Big characters? Do you ever want to do a small little period piece or?
Oh, very much. I want to do a period piece where I'm like gazing out to sea from my lost husband. I'd also love to play like a fully evil character one of these days. I want to play a character that's very still, because I've realized I'm a natural flailer, and I've played a lot of very flaily characters. So if you know anyone, let me know. Put me in touch.
Will do.